Yo, what's up, boys? It's Ninkey, the rank 1 Gwen in the world. That's me. And I speed ran to Challenger this split abusing Gwen jungle. I was also Challenger 1200 LP last split playing top lane, but today I'm gonna explain to you how to play Gwen in top and in jungle, and why Gwen is so OP right now. Guys, please follow me on Twitch, please, and join the Discord. Links in the description. Let's first start off with why you should play Gwen. Gwen is literally the only hyper carry left in the game that can just solo win 1v5 pentakill an entire team if you're good enough. You can absorb every resource and just turbo carry, because Gwen beats CC, Gwen beats tanks.
Nah, bro, Gwen gets countered by tanks.
Gwen beats ranged. There's literally nothing that Gwen can beat except for Garen. And now you might be asking, what's better, Ninkey? Vegan Gwen where you farm and play safe, or Grey Gwen where you perma run it down and die for turrets? Well, let me tell you, right now we're more in a vegan Gwen meta. You just want to eat your vegetables, scale, and win the game. This is why jungle is so strong right now, because in jungle you can literally just get multiple full clears off without dying. You can play very safe, and then you can just scale for free and win the game. Top lane is still good, but it is a little less impactful, because Gwen's biggest strong suit was that you could kill the enemy and then you could take like a billion of their turrets. But now with home guard being so OP now, you can't really punish people for taking bad recall timers or dying. They just instantly get back to lane until more so the late game, and then you can start punishing them more. And yeah, now that I've actually played jungle and top lane, I can actually speak for both of them now, unlike my last guide where I didn't really know much about jungle. Well, anyways, let's get into the runes. So first, if you're playing jungle, you want this rune page: Conquer, Triumph, Alacrity, Last Stand, Magical Footwear, Triple Tonic. Since you're playing jungle, you don't need Presence of Mind, because junglers get infinite mana anyways when they're inside of the jungle. I don't even know what does that, but some random passive on the pet probably. Alacrity is good, all the other ones are terrible. You don't want haste, you don't want bloodline. And Last Stand is the best because Gwen's always going for low HP outplays. And you want boots because you're really playing high income, and boots just saves you 300 gold, and you don't really want to buy them early on jungle anyways, but you do in top lane, which is why the top lane rune page is a little different. They nerf sorcerer boots as well, so rushing tier 2 boots doesn't give you as much value. And then you want triple tonic because this rune is just turbo broken. You get free gold from the first potion, free adaptive force at a level 6 fight, and a free skill point, which speeds up your jungle clear by a lot. And then for top lane, I'm still running Triumph because I swear Triumph just feels so broken after I've been spamming jungle. Now I just can't go back. But if you still prefer Presence of Mind, it's still fine to go. And for the secondaries, the main difference is that we're going biscuits instead of triple tonic, and we're going cosmic insight instead of free boots. This is because cosmic insight lowers your flash cooldown, lowers your ignite cooldown, and biscuits is just probably the most broken rune and inspiration in the game. Literally every top laner is going it. It gives you insane regen when you're low HP. Synergizes really well with Gwen's low HP outplays. Also, if you guys are wondering about First Strike and Dark Harvest, First Strike is
one of the best runes for Gwen. I climbed from Diamond to Challenger with this strategy. Learn how to abuse it right now. Gwen is scaling.
Yeah, First Strike is for monkeys.
Isn't really that good anymore because everybody's perma fighting early game for feats of strength, so you really want Conquer because Gwen's a really strong skirmisher, and then not having Conquer just tones down your power by a lot and makes your scaling better when we're in more of a early game meta. Dark Harvest is bad for the same reason. It's just not as much damage, not as much healing as Conquer, and they removed Eyeball Collection, which was one of the main selling points. Alright, for summoner spells, when I'm playing jungle, I'm going Ghost, Smite every single game. I used to take Ignite and Smite, but I stopped because the Ignite damage isn't really that useful, and having Ghost actually helps a lot for ganking. Ignite is more so to beat junglers that are going to invade you a lot. For top lane, I recommend Flash Ignite every single game, except you can go Flash Exhaust versus Riven and versus Tryndamere. Teleport is terrible now. Not only did they make the travel time a lot longer, but they also added Home Guard when you're just walking out of base. They also made the respawn Home Guard a lot faster, so you just get back to lane instantly. There's no need for teleport. And they made it so when you TP to like a minion, the minion will still die. Like, it doesn't stop minions or wards from being killed. It does feel bad playing mid to late game without teleport, because if you're on the opposite side of the map, you can't get the team fights. But honestly, you can just stick to the side lane and probably just end the game if they go for a team fight. If you're playing Gwen, Gwen has some of the strongest split pushing in the entire game. Flash is really good on Gwen, by the way, because there's some combos I'm gonna get into later. But a lot of the time, Gwen's getting countered by people flashing your ults, flashing your Q, or just flashing over a wall to get away from you, and this lets you keep on top of them. Ghost is also good, but personally, I just enjoy playing with Flash more. So yeah, either run Flash Ignite, Ghost Ignite, but just don't go TP. And sure, I'll briefly go over the abilities. Really fast speed run. If you want more details, you can go back to the other guide. But passive does bonus damage, and you heal for 50% of the damage you deal. Q, you snip in a cone, and every time you hit something, you get stacks. The more stacks you have, the more snips, the more damage. W, you create a zone where you're untargetable to anyone outside the zone. You also get bonus MR and armor. E is a short range dash that buffs your auto attacks, giving you more attack range, more bonus damage, and more attack speed. You can also use it as a a short dash for an auto attack reset, and it goes over walls. And your ult is a long range spell with 3 casts. The first cast fires 1 needle, second cast fires 3 needles, and the last cast fires 5 needles. Each needle applies your passive. The main things you want to keep in mind is you want to line up as many of your abilities as you can to hit multiple targets because you get more healing from your passive. And you want to use your W in either one of 2 ways. To mitigate preemptive damage, so like you're going to go in and you think enemy's going to one-shot you, so you start the fight by EWRN, or you save your W so you can hit the front line while being immune to the back line. This is better to do when you're playing a more tanky build and you can actually survive the back line for a second, because if you do this with a squishy build and you don't kill the front line instantly, then you're just dead. So I usually just like to engage in and instantly use my W, unless I'm playing bruiser, then I'll try to save it a bit longer. Alright, now let's get into some combos. I went over this in my last guide from a couple months ago, but I'll just briefly go over them. The EQ combo, pretty simple, you just E forwards and you get your full damage of the Q onto them. And you have the QE combo, where you cast the first snip of your Q and then you E the rest of it into them. The reason you can do this is because the first snip on your Q barely does any damage. All the damage comes from the last few snips. And this is also useful in case your E hasn't come up yet, but you want to get your Q into them. So you just Q, oh, E just came up, E it into them. Then you have the edging combo, EWQ. This is really good versus range champs and melee champs too, because it takes them a couple seconds if they want to click inside your W, or they'll just run away. So it lets you start the fight without taking any damage for a few seconds. You can also do the WEQ. This makes you go a little farther towards the edge of your W, but personally I just like doing EWQ and clicking a little bit to the edge. Also the WEQ is harder. It's really easy to mess up. You can also do the edging combo with your R. You could do EWR, which I mentioned earlier. This is really good to engage on ranged champions or just engage fights in general. Alright, let's talk about some flash combos. There's only 2 main ones. There's Q flash and there's R flash. Q flash, you want to press your Q for a little bit, and then as I said, the last snips do the most damage. So you can Q and then flash the last snips into them. Similar with your E, except it's instantaneous. So they pretty much can't react to it. And you can also do R flash. This is a little trickier to do because pretty much you have to do it while the R is casting. You look at your health bar, you see the little blue bar that's filling up. You have to flash as it's filling up. If you flash afterwards, then your R is just going to cast from where you were standing. But both these combos can be good either to follow people who are running away, or you can do the R flash or the Q flash to line up multiple people at the same time. Kind of like how you should use your E, except what if your E's on cooldown, or what if you had to like flash an ability that your E wouldn't get you out of, like a Vagar cage or something. So it's really useful to just line up your abilities or to chase people who are running away. And for your abilities, this is just non-negotiable. Every single roll, every time you're playing Gwen, this is what you do. You max Q, you max E, then you max W and R. Obviously you max R when you have, like when you hit 6, 11, and 18, but you know what I mean. If you're playing top, you want to start Q in every matchup. And if you're playing jungle, starting Q gives you the fastest clear. There are some exceptions in top lane though. You can go E start only if you're doing this specific cheese. If you're versus a champion like Warwick or Trundle or any single top laner, even Darius, any single top laner is just gonna fist fight you level 1 and beat you really hard. You can sit in the alcove with E start, soak the first 3 minions of XP, then just walk into your own bush and just E away if they chase after you. This is a good way to stay even in a terrible lane. And also early game, if you have Q start, it's okay to go 2 points in Q before putting a point in W, especially if you're going for a tower dive or like an all-in versus a melee champ where your W doesn't actually do much. But it kind of takes more practice knowing when to do this. So for all of you, I recommend just go Q, E, W for the first 3 levels. Alright, now let me talk about Gwen top lane specifically. So for top lane, you want to be banning Garen every single game, or you can ban Riven too. Riven isn't that bad of a matchup, but it's more so just annoying to play against, especially if you're a new Gwen player. But Garen is the one that's definitely unbeatable. Even if you're versus a bad Garen or a challenger Garen, it's still really hard to win. Top lane, you want to start Doran's Ring every game, no exceptions. People say, oh, what about D-Shield? Well, the thing is, if you're playing Gwen, you can convert mana into health pretty much. You want to farm the minions versus a Teemo? Okay, you can press W and then you can Q the wave and walk away. Boom, you just converted mana into health. I hate playing Gwen with no mana, so I just never go D-Shield. Your build for top lane this split, you're either going Nashers, Riftmaker, Rabadons, and then either Void Staff or Shadow Flame based on if you need the pen, and then purchase whichever one that you didn't get. 4th for your 5th item. I do believe Nashers Riftmaker is pretty good this split because it's just a really strong split pushing build, and it also helps a lot with skirmishes. Or you're going the old build that I was building last split, Nashers, Shadow Flame, Void Staff, Rabadons, and then Lichbane last item. This is still a very good build, but as I said, Grey Gwen isn't really as good anymore because of the super fast home guard timers and whatnot. But I believe if you're behind already, then building Nashers, Shadow Flame, Void Staff is a pretty good option. You can just run down the side lane and one-shot people even when you're behind, and you'll still be useful in team fights with the Shadow Flame damage. I think if you're really ahead or even, then going Nashers Riftmaker just accelerates your lead because you're just unkillable in team fights and you're still doing nuclear damage. You want to first back Dark Seal every single game. Refillable Potion is also really good since you don't have any built-in sustain other than hitting champions. And rushing defensive boots can be good, especially if you see like a double AD jungler in top laner or even triple AD top jungle mid. Level 1, I used to stand in the first top bush every game just to defend it. I still think this is really good to do versus ranged top laners, but now in the invade meta, you kind of have to cover for your jungler. You have to cover jungle positions to make sure that enemy Nautilus Blitzcrank won't invade you and get first blood, because feats of strength. Yep. But playing Gwen in top lane, it's mainly just learn the matchups. I have YouTube shorts for pretty much every top lane matchup. I think they're not that outdated. Most of them still hold true. I might update the Cassante one soon. But for the most part, if you're versus a ranged top laner, you sit in the bushes, you queue the free CS, and you just AFK scale to level 6, rush tier 2 boots so you can run them down, and then from then on, you pretty much win the matchup. If you're versus melee champs, I'd say about 70 to 80% Gwen is just stronger than them early game. So you can just walk up to the wave, grab your Q stacks, and literally just look to all in them. And some of them are a little tricky where you have to give level 1 prio. But for the most part, Gwen is actually a very strong laner. Although she might not win every level 1, at level 6, she is pretty much unbeatable other than Garen. You want to mainly look to just EWQ to poke people in lane whenever your W is up. If you're versus range, you want to poke them while getting the CS at the same time, so it's a win-win. And if you're versus melees, just be a little careful, because sometimes if you EWQ in and you miss your Q, you might just be dead. So you have to be very certain you're going to land it. But you usually want to try to play for a lead and just become a super strong split pusher. Getting first turret is always really achievable, and then after that, you just want to play for tier 2s. The faster you can get to your 3-item, 4-item spike, the faster you can carry the game. This is why I'm known as Andrew Tate, because I'm a hustler. I only play for maximizing my gold income. Nothing else matters. Also, getting grubs is really, really good on Gwen. You just take turrets infinitely faster. And since Gwen has a strong laning phase, you can just get the grubs for free most of the time. But yeah, once you hit around 3 items, you want to just kind of group with your teammates for objectives, especially since you don't have TP. It's harder to go for split push plays. And you want to just play for either 5v5 fighting mid or just fighting around objectives like Baron. If you're playing the Nash's Rift build, you're playing more of a frontline bruiser, and you just want to go in, tank as much, heal as much for your team, as well as getting your damage off on a bunch of their team. If you're playing the Assassin build, you're playing heavily around your W cooldown. You're only going in and out for a kill, unless you already have a follow-up champ that can kind of tank for you and engage. Then you just want to follow up with them, get all of your damage off, and kind of run away till your W's back up. Just remember, you pretty much never want to engage a fight without your W. If your team is starting a fight, ping them off. You need your W to go in. If you're playing Riftmaker, this is a bit more forgiving, but if you're playing Assassin, you will just instantly get one shot. And for team fighting on Gwen, getting a flank is always ideal, but if you can't get a flank, it's okay to front to back. Just remember, when your W runs out, you're vulnerable. Alright, let's talk about jungle now. For jungle, you want to be banning Bel'Veth or Kha'Zix. Personally, I hate Bel'Veth, but I know Zerzo hates Kha'Zix. These are just two junglers that are gonna perma invade you and will always beat you in the 1v1. And if they get ahead, it's completely unplayable. So just pick whichever one you hate more. For jungle, the build is slightly different. You want Nashers, Shadow Flame, Rabadons, Void Staff. The reason why you're going Rabadons third and not Void Staff, like for the top lane build, is because jungle's a high income role. You can easily afford to get Rabadons, while top lane, sometimes it's hard. Top laners are always poor. We're brokies. Rabadons is more damage than Void Staff, but it's usually just harder to afford. For boots on jungle, I'm leaning more towards defensive. If you see a good angle, like they have Samira, Viego, Zed. Okay, perfect, still caps game. But if you see a lot of AP and a lot of AD, and you can't really just pick one boots to counter them, then just go Sorks. When you're playing Gwen jungle, I like to start blue smite every time. I know Zerzo disagrees with me, he likes red smite, but still, I feel like the movement speed is so valuable, and you don't even need to upgrade your boots to tier 2. You can just sit on magical footwear and just run through bushes with the blue smite and just run super fast. But every game you need to look at your laners, look at enemy jungle, and think, where's the safest part of the map that I can path towards? If your bot lane has a winning matchup, you want to path towards them. If your top laner has a winning matchup, you want to path towards him instead. Your goal is pretty much get as many full clears and good invades off without dying, so you can scale to get your first 1 to 2 items, and then after that you can just take over the game. If I see their junglers like a super strong early game champ like J4, Lee Sin, Bel'Veth, Kha'Zix, I'll either ask my mid laner or ward it myself. I'll ward their raptors. I'll do my clear, my full clear down or up based on where I want to path, and then once I spot where the enemy jungle's pathing, I will just go to the opposite side of the map and take the crowd there afterwards. If you're versus a jungler that is most likely gonna do a few camps and invade you, then the raptors ward can be very helpful. You can see, okay, I've done my camps, they're still not on their raptors. You can assume that they're just coming to kill you, and you're gonna sprint straight towards their raptors instead, or straight towards whichever camps they didn't do. Jungle's mainly just about reacting to what the enemy jungler does, especially when you're playing Gwen. You can't really make a lot of aggressive plays. So just like, okay, this guy's taking my bot side camps, okay, I'll just go take his top side. But for the clear, I like to start raptors or wolves, then go to Krugs or Gromp based on which side I'm on, then do the buff last, and then keep clearing. If you start on a buff, it is faster, but your smaller camps will take longer to respawn. And since Gwen jungle's all about just power farming, you want want your small camps to respawn as fast as possible. However, you can start a buff, like it's not the end of the world. This is just my preference. Level 1, you want to start Q, hit the blast cone at exactly 5 seconds since the snips on your Q last for 6. And you want to get your first Q to 4 stacks, then Q it. I've tested this is the most damage. Other than these camps, you can just spam Q whenever it's up. You don't have to wait till you have stacks. Use your E as an auto attack reset, and that's pretty much it for the clear. I'll probably put like a sped up version of me doing a full clear. If you know that you're going to go the opposite side where the enemy jungler's pathing, then you don't really need to save a smite. You can just use both your smites on your clear. But I usually like to do a full clear, then crab, then 2 of my camps, then reset until blasting on Dark Seal. Change out your ward for Oracle Lens, and then if you've gotten that off, then you're already chilling. For objectives, it's not really about which one's better. Grubs are better on Gwen, but if your top laner's inting, you can't get grubs. Unless enemy jungle's pathing bot, obviously, or enemy top reset. It kind of varies game to game, but usually you just want to trade objectives with enemy jungler, do whichever one that they're not doing, or you can force one that they want to contest, as long as that side of the map is doing pretty well and they're pretty strong. You don't really want to look to gank any lanes unless they are just guaranteed free kills. Most of the time, it's just like you're gonna get their sums and you're just wasting your time when you can be full clearing. Once you hit level 6, then Gwen kind of becomes a good champion. You can just fist fight any of the junglers and probably win. You want to wait for enemy jungle to show on the map, do their camps if they're up on your side, and just keep farming. Gwen is one of the fastest scaling clears in the game. Once you have 1 to 2 items, you just one tap all of the camps. AP junglers are pretty broken, so you will outscale pretty much any AD champion. Look to tax waves whenever you want. You see a cannon minion, go ahead and smite it. But seriously though, like any wave crashes under turret and you're close by, just pick it up, especially if your laner's like dead or roaming somewhere. Don't be scared to take another one too. Getting prio is always useful. Also, since Gwen takes turrets insanely fast, you can literally just look to cheese first turret whenever you have a successful gank, which is why Gwen can win feats of strength a lot of the time on jungle. Jungle is a lot harder role to play with Gwen, but I think if you're good at it, it is very, very rewarding. Also, when you're playing jungle, don't be scared to just give up Atakan, because this is pretty much a bait objective in my opinion. If I could go side lane, top lane, and get a tier 2 turret while Atakan's spawning bot and everyone's fighting over it, I would gladly take that. It's literally just 1 level of XP. Unless it's the Voracious one, which gives you Guardian Angel. That one is very important. You need to fight for that. But yeah, split pushing is really good on Gwen jungle a lot of the time. Don't be afraid to literally just take 2 or 3 entire turrets while your team fights on the opposite side of the map. And a lot of people have been asking me about the new stuff like Bloodletter's Curse, Axiom Arcanist, which boots to go with feats of strength. Let me tell you, first, Bloodletters is pretty much a terrible item. It was bugged for the first like week of the season. It wouldn't apply in multiple targets. And even now that they fixed it, it's just like the AP is super low. Bruiser Gwen is shit in general, so just don't even bother. I will say though, it is very good into Cassante, specifically, not other tanks, because Cassante has a lot of damage scaling with his MR. If you shred his MR, not only do you do more damage, he does a lot less to you, and he's one of the only tanks that can actually kill you. So this item does hard counter Cassante. Other than that, don't build it. And if you are gonna build it, just treat it as you have Riftmaker. Just go Bloodletters, Nashers, and then just like back to normal build, Rabadon's Void, stuff like that. Axiom Arcanist, this rune is terrible. Doesn't work on Gwen's passive, so you don't get more healing, you don't get more damage from the passive, which is pretty much all of Gwen's ult damage anyways. So this item did 37 damage when I hit it on multiple targets with all 3 ults. And in conclusion, it sucks. And since people keep asking me about skins, I'll give you my quick new tier list of what I like. Number 1, Space Groove Black Chroma. This is favorite skin. I only have it on 1 account though, so you barely see me using it. Peak sound effects. Skin looks not bad with the black chroma, but with the default chroma, it looks like ass. Splash art sucks though. Second favorite, I like Cafe Cuties. I don't have any chromas for it, but sounds nice with the Q and the art. That's about it. Third, I like Battle Queen. Still one of my favorite skins, but I kind of like spammed using it a lot, so now it's like time to take a break. Fourth, Soul Fighter. I have this only on my Europe account. It's alright. I don't really like it though. I don't like the sound effects. The animations do look pretty cool. And fifth, the default. But the thing is, this isn't even a bad skin. This is just like, I rarely use it because I already have the other skins, so I might as well just use the skins I've paid for. But if you don't have a Gwen skin, then literally just use the default. It's peak. Alright, and there's the Gwen guide for season 15. Join the Discord, follow on Twitch if you want to watch. I'm live at 10 a.m. EST every day. And yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, just comment. I'll probably respond to like 90% of them. And there you go. Abuse Gwen before it gets nerfed quick.